Okay, so this is my story. This is my testimony of how I became a Christian, and it could go on for a while, so I might have to break this up. But basically, I am 40 some odd years old in my early 30s. I was born in '73, and I'm taping in Atlanta or Dallas, Georgia, and we've lived in Houston, Texas, and for elementary and middle school we moved back to Georgia when I went to high school. And my problems, I guess, began actually when I was in elementary. I don't know what happened, but for some reason, when I was real little, I was just a skinny old fella, and just one year something happened, and next thing I know, I'm blown up, and I'm more of a person that stays inside than goes outside. I guess I became fearful of something, and so I just decided I wanted to stay inside, so I did. But my story goes basically, every major transition that one takes while going to school, meaning when they go from elementary, they go to middle school. And that's a big transition because it's a bigger school, and most of the time you go with friends that you were in elementary with. Well, we moved every single time that transition happened, so I had to make all new friends in middle school, and then when we went through middle school, we moved, and I had to go to a new high school, and that's the toughest one, and I had to make all friends. So that was kind of hard on me. I know my parents did the best that they could. They were doing what they felt was best for our family, and in the long run, it really was. And so I love my mom and dad very much, and they did what they could for us. And just like every other adult, you're learning as you go. So those major transitions made it hard for me to make friends, and I went back into myself, and I didn't exceed or excel in school. By middle school, I wasn't into sports. I was hanging out with the headbangers back then, people that listened to the heavy metal music. So we were really big into Iron Maiden and Metallica, and some groups back there in the 80s, because this was the 80s. And we had it good in Houston, Texas. It was a very nice place. The schools were very good, but like I said, it was me, the one that was going through these transitions. But my major difficulties started happening when we moved to Duluth, Georgia in '89, and we lived in a rent home, and my parents were looking for the quote last house that they ever were going to buy. And we found a nice home, and we did move into it. But right before that is when my personal attempt on my life took place. It was around '89, like I said. I don't know if it was the spring or fall, but what basically happened was I was obviously planning it out in my head. It's real sketchy when I go back and I try to think of it. It's like bits and pieces of it are not there. I don't know how that works, but I do know that the majority of it is I found a shotgun shell, and I knew where the shotgun was. So basically what I did was I planned it out, and my dad was obviously at work. My mom, I guess she was working at that time to save up to get the new house, or to get a house. And my brother at the time when we first moved, he was in football. So he did that. He was at football practice. So I took the bus home, and I was an awkward kid. I was a lot fatter. I was, not filled out, like muscular right now, but I was chubby and was a target to be picked on. And so I think at that time I was being picked on, and I didn't have close friends at that time. Or I did have some friends, but I don't think I was too close to them at that point. So I got home one day and I got the shotgun shell out of the cabinet that was in the kitchen and grabbed the shotgun from my brother's closet. He was the hunter. He was the likable one. So I grabbed the shotgun and went to my room and sat down on the edge of the bed, and I was crying, and two battles were going on in that room that I couldn't see. I strongly believe that we had guardian angels and demons fighting over my soul at that particular time. Now, I do believe I was saved, but I was going through depression, and I had tunnel vision on, and the thoughts that were racing through my mind were, no one would care if I kill myself. Funny as it might seem, my parents would have one less mouth to feed, so they would have more money. The things that race through your head are just absurd. They're crazy. I can't pronounce the word. I get a little tongue-tied, but so I sat there and I was coming up with all these reasons of why I shouldn't be alive, or why I should go through with this suicide. Why, and these were all good ideas, and I wasn't looking, I wasn't seeing. I was hearing more of the demons' voices in my head than I was the guardian angels. But they were there. I know they were. I know we had people praying for us. We have always been a family that has been in the church, that we were raised in the church. So the scripture has always been there. The Holy Bible has always been a part of our family, my mother's side and my father's side. And it was the churches in Texas that helped my parents out the most. That we had no family there, so they had to cling on to something, and the church was what they clung on to, and they clung on to God's promises, and they clung on to each other. And so we did have a strong family, but every family has its problems, every family has its issues, and so it's part of life. But those churches helped us. So when we moved to Duluth, Georgia, my parents, we were attending the First Baptist of Duluth, and I just remember sitting there crying, and I had pulled the trigger of the shotgun back, so it was cocked and loaded, basically. And I was holding it in my hands. I'm sitting on the edge of my bed. I'm crying, just tears just streaming down. I could barely see. I'm hysterical. And I decided at a moment that I can't do it. I can't do it. And then, the demons are over saying, no, we got to do it. We got to get this done. We got to get this done. The guardian angels said, no, we almost got this one. He's changing his mind. And then it was so surreal that at that time, I didn't realize what was going on, and God had showed me after this of what was happening. And I could just see it. He showed it into me, playing out like a movie in my head. And he showed me, he goes, wait. And so, of course, when God speaks, whatever's around there, they got to wait. So the demons froze, and the guardian angels were like, yes, sir, what do you want, Lord? And he's like, the gun has got to go off. That gun has got to go off. And so my thought was, like every boy who's seen an action flick at the movies, you can slowly let the trigger, or slowly let the hammer down on the gun to where it won't go off, like all the cowboys did in the Cowboys movies, and all the Mad Maxes and stuff like that. You just let the hammer down. and the gun won't go off. You take the bullet out, you put it away. But God was saying, if that gun doesn't go off, then it's not going to scare him into reality. That's basically what was going on. So what happened is I was sitting there letting the hammer down on the gun, and the next thing, bam! The gun goes off. I'm freaking out even more. I'm looking around. I'm like, well, the gun went off. Where did it go? Where did it? Did I shoot? I didn't shoot the TV. It didn't explode. I didn't shoot the window. There's no hole there. Where did the bullet go? Where did the bullet go? I looked down, and on the ground is a hole that the shotgun shell had made. And the first thing that raced through my mind was, Dad's gonna kill me. Dad is gonna kill me because I shot a hole in the floor of the rent house. And I'm hysterical, but that's what God said had to happen for me to be scared back into reality at that point in time, so that we could get things straightened out and that he could smooth out the wrinkles. And so all I remember is, I was, oh God, what to do? At that moment when I cried out and said, oh God, what do I do? The demons were gone, the angels were relieved, and God said, I'm here. And this still, quiet voice that was powerful but gentle and sweet said, go downstairs and call the youth minister at the church. And I was frantic, and of course, I'm in a panicky state. I'm like, I don't know the phone number. What's the phone number to the church? I don't know. Somehow, some way, the phone number was down by the phone, written down that I had found it or stumbled across it. And I dialed the church, and the operator picked up, and she said, this is First Baptist of Dallas, or First Baptist of Duluth. How can I help you? I was like, I need to talk to the youth minister. And she goes, well, I don't think he's available. And I think I said something to the fact that I really need to talk to him. I just tried to commit suicide. And she said, hang on one second. And she rushed and found him. And I do not remember the youth minister's name. And I'm so sorry about that, because if there was ever a moment that I could hug him, I would. I do know that he rushed over and we began to talk, and he calmed me down, and I stopped crying, and I kind of told him what was going on, and I'm gonna have to stop here. The battery's almost dead, but okay, I'll try to finish up real quick. And so he came over, we fixed that, but the biggest thing that came was when my dad walked in on us and he saw that the youth minister was there. It kind of threw him back, I think, because it's like, well, why is the youth minister here, in the middle of the day? This isn't normal. And so the youth minister had to tell my father that I just tried to commit suicide. And the look on my father's face at that moment was grief, worry, and surprise, because this was new to him. This was, what do you mean? I don't think he understood what was going on with me. And so he goes, Trip, if I would have come home and found you dead on the floor, I would have had a heart attack. And it was at that moment that God smacked me again and went bam, right in my heart. And he said, you thought that if you killed yourself, everything would be okay. That it would be one less mouth to feed in the family. But you just heard from your father, your own father, that he would have had a heart attack. It's like a domino effect. And I didn't realize that. And so I got help and went to some counseling and got better. And we're going to pick this up again once I get the battery charged. And we're going to look at part 2 of my testimony. So hang in there. I do thank you so much for you being here. And we'll be back. Thank you.